Have you ever felt resentment or jealousy towards somebody or a situation maybe because you didn't get what you thought you deserved and someone else received a reward or a level of success that you wanted? Or maybe you felt a level of shame or guilt towards letting someone down or even yet letting yourself down. You see, when we don't accomplish what we want to accomplish, a lot of times we do a lot of finger pointing, do a lot of blame gaming. But the truth of the matter is that there are two different ways we can look at that. We can reach out and ask somebody for some hints or clues as to how they were able to accomplish that thing that we wanted to accomplish. And even yet, those who have gone before us can always reach back if you're able to reach out to them and give you those clues to that success. Today on Brink, we're going to be talking about success leaving clues. Once again, welcome to the Brink of Greatness podcast. My name is Jonathan Marcus Thomas, and we are here today to talk about how we can get ahead of the curve and not fall behind by trying to recreate the wheel, essentially. For whatever reason, maybe it's some type of subconscious programming. Whenever we go into an endeavor, we like to try to, as it came to me with my brother the other day, recreate the wheel. It's a cliche, but that's what we do. We try to recreate the wheel before we even get on the road, before we even accomplish the thing to begin with. There's a saying that success leaves clues. And a lot of times people use that in the personal development space, but not very often are you giving actionable steps. Today, I'm going to give you some tools that you can use to actually flesh out what it means for success to leave clues. Whenever you're looking at a goal or you're trying to aim at a target, shall we say, there's specific ways that you got to go about doing that. I remember back in the day, me and my wife, we went on a trip. And on that trip, we got to experience shooting skeet or shooting clay targets. And when you do that, someone has a clay disc, hardened clay disc, and they launch it. Forgive me if I'm killing the, what you would say, the terminology here. But it's something I've only done that one time. We've only done that one time. I don't know if she might have done it the time before. But it was very brand new to us. And what you do is it's just like target practice. You have a shotgun and someone else to launch the clays. So we didn't know what we was doing. I ain't even shot a shotgun before, much less target practice, right? So someone saw us. It goes back to how, people who have success can reach back, who had experience doing this. And they saw that, okay, these guys are kind of green. They're kind of new at this. Let me go give them some pointers. So they were able to give us some pointers and taught us how to aim in front of it based off the trajectory that it has been. So basically, like, you got to kind of guess a little bit, where is it going to be a certain amount of distance from when you shoot. And then also what you would do would be to use the guide at the end of the barrel. And I tell you, me and my wife, we got pretty good at it. We even got to the point where it was competitive. It was like, how many we gonna get in a row? You know what I'm saying? And from the competitive side, I won that time, but if she watched this, we probably gonna be headed right out to the range because she's gonna be like, oh, big talk, huh? Let's go on back out there. So, needless to say, someone was able to show us clues, success leaving clues. They left something behind for us to work on and be able to develop those skills so that we also could experience that level of success that we were looking for, which is aiming and hitting that target. One target in particular that I'm very aware of, because I try to take the lessons I learned there and apply them across the board until, operating at a high clip, is when I sat down at a graduation that was supposed to be mine. I didn't have any resentment, no jealousy. I was ecstatic. I watched everybody I grew up with from grade school, middle school, high school, do the thing that when we all started as freshmen is like, yo, this is the aim, this is the goal, this is what we're gonna hit. And I didn't hit that. I watched my wife do the same thing, then girlfriend, and had a real moment where I was like, this is real life. I've been playing around. I've been, as the scripture says, when I was a child, I did childish things. And when I became a man or a mature adult, I left those childish things behind. Well, I was in the middle of that tension and that friction. I had not left a lot of childish things behind. Behavior that showed a lack of discipline, a lack of focus, a lack of intensity. I gleaned to those things that would lean to more childlike. And doing that did not give me the results I wanted. This is you're talking about big boy talk. You're trying to get into the corporate world. You're trying to get a job, profession, be a husband. And you can't do those things if you slacking, you know what I'm saying? Not hitting those goals. And it was a full circle moment for me because education always came, I don't want to say easy because I put in work in high school because of the type of classes I was in. But a lot of it was just me showing up and just getting by, really. And that did not transfer. Those skills didn't transfer with the next level that I was hitting. I took those same skills and was like, oh, when I get to the next level, I just do the same thing. I have a little bit more free time. And that's not what happened. I had to sit there with the fact that I did not succeed in the thing that I wanted to succeed in. So in that moment, while we're celebrating, I'm like, oh, it's time to get to work. And Denzel Washington has a great quote, and he says it a lot better than I do. I'm not sure who he attributed it to because I've seen him in other interviews where, people were like, yeah, you remember that saying? That dreams without goals are just dreams and ultimately lead to disappointment, which, we know disappointment can cause you to have feelings of doubt, can lead you to quit that thing that you ultimately need to be accomplishment that's attached to your purpose. And also, he talked about in the quote a lot of things, but that your dreams without discipline and consistency will not be accomplished. So back to the example of shooting the skeet. When you're trying to hit that target, what do? Glad you asked. You're aiming at the target. So once again, we're gonna go to our handy dandy whiteboard in a second, write it out, and then delve a little deeper into it. So the acronym that is going to help us continue to hit those goals is AIM, A-I-M. So we're gonna slide over real quick. Let's go ahead and bounce over here, real smooth. All right. So the A in AIM is going to stand for assess. The I, intentionality or intention. And then the M is going to be maintenance. Maintenance. Let's see, make sure y'all can see that well in your screen. All right. So the reason why we like to use A.I.M, or that's going to be the tool that we're going to pull out of our toolbox and continue to hit these goals and make these things shake. It's because that you need to assess your situation. You need to look at it from a scientific standpoint. There's a lot of different ways you can do that. If you really want to delve into your personality test and just figure out where you are on certain spectrums, they got enneagrams, disc assessments, and a whole gamut. You can do your research. You can figure out which one that you want to do if that's a part of your assessment, and figure out not so much who you are, but where your tendencies lie at that current snapshot of your life, and be able to start from there, from a foundation, to be able to build towards what it is that you can see through your evaluation that you need to be. Like maybe you need to be a little bit more structured, or maybe you work better in a structured environment, so you have to look for resources to be able to help you do that. Also in your assessment, if you have a trusted mentor, or just a trusted voice that you can bounce ideas off of, that will, guide you in a honest and best practices to be able to get where you need to be. And then you can just ask others, or pay attention to feedback that you've gotten before. I tell you, one of the huge points about the assess part of this tool that affected my life and helped me to achieve things that, for one, I didn't know was possible, but things that I should have accomplished already. The mentorship process when I was in school at Clemson was pretty solid. When I look back on it, they had there was a lot of upperclassmen that really reached back and gave us or left clues to success, because they had some trials, or maybe they've seen other people go through things and they didn't want us to go through that. But us, like, we listened. I'm talking about me, and maybe I say I listened, so don't nobody feel no type of way. But there still was an air of, I got this. Don't worry. I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm gonna make it shake. Don't even trip on it. But I appreciate where you're coming from. So I was given advice. I remember it very, very clearly. I know it was Sean, but it was somebody. It was another upperclassman lady who told me some good information. And I remember going through this with my mom. We were in the student center, and this was before I even started my freshman year. And they were like, "Hey, this is what your counselors are going to tell you to do. They're going to tell you to take this class, this guy, this guy. They're going to fill your schedule up. Don't do that, because you're going to be overwhelmed and it's going to be too much, and it's really going to set you back." And they also were like, "Hey, sit in the front of the class. Read before you get into the class." I might be getting ahead of myself a little bit, so I'm a backtrack. When we're talking about assess, you got to go back to what's the situation and how can you get out of it, or how can you be better. So what did we say? What did we say last time? You was like, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? What can I do better? And then from there, you lay the next brick of your foundation. Lay the next brick as perfectly as you can, and just take the next step. Don't make it too deep, because it's really not. That's the whole thing. So let's move on to your intentionality. Your intentionality is basically you setting your plan. After you've done all your assessing, what are the keys? What is the plan, the map, direction? Where are you going next? And you have to do that with a certain level of intensity. Now, intensity isn't always loud and like rah rah and pre-game speeches and all that jazz. Intensity has to do with a particular type of undistracted focus, and that is a key to staying on your path, on track, but also to being as precise and direct as you can possibly be. So you want to be intentional with that. So back to let me hit this real quick. Back to my the mentors that came through in the program. Shout out Emmy Dub and and all those who were there for us to help us with that. They gave us the roadmap. They was like, go to class and sit in the front. They were saying to read your material before you get into class. Know your teacher's office hours and hit like, man, like shoot, like, and they told us, but it was still a gap in between when we started to, or like when we heard the information to when we started to when we were in the thick of it. It was like, dang, if we would heard that, if we'd have had some type of like little note card where it was like, okay, what I do to be successful, boom, write that down, have that set up in your purview so you can always see it and always be mindful of it, which also leans towards your intentionality and your focus, writing down your goals. And then what were some of the other things for all those that are still in school? Practice tests. They had banks full of practice tests. They was like, do as many practice tests as you possibly can. Sometimes people would give us all of their classwork, and they'd be like, yo, this is something you can glean, something you can learn from it. This is extra information for you to study. And then the thing also with this is it wasn't that I couldn't have fun. And I feel like that was a part of the childlike mentality. It was like, yeah, you gotta let that stuff go. Or you gotta put it in its proper place. You have to have that, what's the right word? You have to have that level of priorities. Because once I had my intention set, I had that intensity of focus and not being distracted. And, you know, did my breakfast thing, did my study thing, in between classes, hit the library by, because whatever time I gave myself, by 4 or 5 every day, I was done. Like I already did the homework or the assignment for the next week. I had everything knocked out, and then I was like, I got like 4 or 5 hours where I can do whatever I want to do, with no trying to figure out, oh man, when I get back, I gotta, jump on the work. No. That wasn't that. So you assess intentionality, and then your maintenance. Your maintenance is going to be how you, after you put all these systems in place, how do you go about truly repeating the success over and over again? And there's a lot of ways that you can go about doing that. I know accountability was a big part of it for me. After, my wife and friends graduated, I remember my mom's, it was during the summer, and we was just chilling, and she just came to the steps, and she was like, hey, how much longer we got? But she said it not in a parental way. She said it in a, we all know the situation. What's up? What's happening? And I could have played around and said it, but I seen the look on her face where it was devoid of emotion. It was just like, yo, what's up? And I told her, yo, and I could have tried to embellish and be like, yo, I can get it done. And I was like, nah. I was like, okay, real talk. I said, 3 semesters. And she said, okay. And she left. That's the most direct conversation we ever had. And in 3 semesters, we was out of that joint. So when I talk about accountability, my accountability was to her. My accountability was to myself, and it was to my girlfriend at the time, and to my wife. It was to them, those 3, and to God. Because I was like, God, yo, I'm going to do my best and leave it up to you to do the rest. And through that level of accountability, whenever you do that, the stakes are risen, because it's not just some idea in your mind. It's something that you're putting out into the ethos. You're putting out into the universe. And then you give other people the opportunity to support you, to help you, and encourage you. And that is something that a lot of us hold in, because then that puts a lot of responsibility on us, because you can't just drop it. You can't just leave it sitting there. It's a real thing. And I could go much deeper into that, but that's not the conversation we're having today. So you have your systems, you figure out who you're going to be accountable to, how you're going to work with that accountability, and then you're going to just remain consistent. Consistency is a big part of anything in life. Like, if you pick something up, put it down, pick something up, put it down, you're losing momentum. You're losing ground to those who are putting in work every day. I liken it to going to the gym, because that's something that I know is important for my overall longevity. They've shown studies where working out is also linked to your mental sharpness. And I'm trying to do all the stuff with the grands and the great grands. Like, I'm trying to be out here. You know what I'm saying? I am trying to be and it's, I'm not just trying to chill, and I'm going to do that. Believe that. But I'm going to be a part of their lives in an active way, and not, just be very passive and, sit on the sidelines. Like, I want to be able to walk around, run around the yard with them, and, maybe throw football, shoot some ball with them a little bit. Now, I ain't full court, you know what I'm saying? Full court became a little old quick, but, a little half court, we can rock that real quick. A little 21, something like that. That'll be fun. That's something that inspires me. But the ability to put in the work, lift the weights, run the sprints, do all the agility things, you could just continue to build on it each and every day. And then you take a week off, and that week turns into a couple days more, and then that turns into a month, and then a couple months, and then you're looking up, and this half the year's gone. Then when you go back to the gym, you can't just go back to the gym. You can't just pick up where you left off. And so then you end up being behind the 8 ball and having to rebuild just to get back to where you were when you stopped. When you have that consistency, there's no rebuilding. You've got those deposits in there. You have that sweat equity in there where you continue to raise your floor. And that is what I'm striving for myself. That's what I'm striving to communicate, inspire, and educate you to have for yourself, so that you're not starting from ground zero every time you want to do something, that you have a level of consistency once you have assessed the situation, and then you put the plans into place. Christ says, talks a lot about counting the cost. He uses the parable, when talking about maybe building a house, and how you look foolish if you tell everybody what you're gonna do, but you ain't figured out all the things that it takes to accomplish that thing. That's why we're assessing. That's why we're being intentional and having the undistracted focus on what it is that we want to do, and doing it as close to perfection as possible. Not that you're aiming for perfection to have some type of shame or guilt when you don't hit it, but so you're always shooting towards a standard. And then after that, after you've done all those things, have the plans in place and systems, then you're going to maintain that. You're going to be consistent. You're going to have others hold you accountable, whether it be a mentor, a friend, family member, loved one. These are the tools and the process of accomplishing those goals. This is what success leaves behind. Success has a system, a procedure towards accomplishing a goal. And you have to be able to either have that directly or indirectly. When I say that, I mean either someone has put out all this information for you to pull from, and you become a student of that, and they have the results you want, and you just go all in, or you have someone that has been there, done that, and has you a direct phone line, text, DM away from one-on-one conversation where it's like, hey, how did you do that? Oh man, it ain't nothing. Da, 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 da. Hey man, come by the crib. I'm gonna show you a little bit of how I got this crib. I'm gonna show you how I got this car. I'm gonna show you how my kids can go to private school anywhere in the country, and it ain't flexing the budget where we got to eat ramen, rice and beans all the time, or we jet set. Let me show you how I did this, and until you get there, like you can always holler at me. And then once you do get there, if you find something else out, man, let me know. And we make it shape. That type of relationship, that one-on-one. So find that successful person in whatever field you're in and has accomplished the thing that you want to accomplish. And reach out. Because when you're teaching someone from the other side, it helps you refine what it is that you're doing. It helps you be like, okay, I do got some gaps there, or I can tighten up here and make this even better. All right. So I want you to be encouraged. I'm immensely thankful for this transformational journey that we're all going on together to really realize that we're on the brink of our greatness or our success, and we're just the next step away from accomplishing that along a long journey to doing great, immaculate things. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit like, subscribe. I would love for this message to get out to as many people as possible because it has blessed me. And I wanted to bless others in a very impactful way, whether you be in sports, business, personal development. These tools are going to serve you well. Until next time, this is Jonathan Marcus Thomas signing out. Peace.